Hello, my name is Pam. I am a mother of two wonderful boys. I have a tragic history. I don't know why I feel the need to share this in this forum, but healing is a complicated thing. To give you the Coles Notes version of my history, I was married. The relationship, my husband was an ill man. He refused help at every turn, every time it was offered him. His response was, "I don't have a problem, my problem is you," referring to me as his wife. Because apparently everything wrong in our lives was my fault. I know that he didn't start out this way. He was a generous, loving, kind, gentlemanly, gentle, sweet man. The first time he assaulted me was 10 years into our marriage. We were just about to move to another city, to a house that we had built together. Our children were 3 and 6 at the time. It was in the car. We were all in the car together. He almost killed all of us. At that point, I know I should have left. I was unemployed. I had no money of my own. All the standard financial reasons, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I didn't go. The next assault came a month after we moved into our new house. The children witnessed that one as well. And again, I didn't leave. But I started planning. Again, our children were still 3 and 6. They were small. I was home with them all the time. I had no money of my own. But at that point, after the second assault, I was determined to get myself a job and exit, start planning my exit strategy. I never pictured myself as the kind of person who would use a service like Women in Crisis or Anselma House or whatever. I should have picked up the children and just left. That would have been the ultimately brave thing to do. I didn't. I stayed. I coped. I survived. I protected my children. I tried to keep his unbalance away from them. I failed. After things were over, I realized how much I failed to protect them just by staying. Anyone who's in this situation needs to leave. You need to leave. There really is no other solution. You have to get out of the situation. It's the only way it'll end. So things continued. We stayed in our house. We were there for probably 13, maybe 10, 11 years. Yeah, so it was actually 9 years, because the last assault happened August 2012. The children are at their grandparents' house. They never witnessed that one. It was the worst one. He was super drunk. And even then, I didn't call the police. I didn't have him arrested. Well, actually I did. I called the police because he decided, the reason he assaulted me was because I was trying to keep the keys from him so that he couldn't go driving because he'd been drinking. So he left. I called a friend. She said, "Call the police." I did. I reported him as a drunk driver. By the time they found his car, he was already at said friend's house. So they had no recourse. At this point, and I'm not making excuses for myself, I know what I did was the most spineless thing I could possibly have done. I had an affair in the last year of our marriage. We were married for 23 years. Well, not married, we were together for 23 years. But at any rate, yeah. So they talked to him. They came back to the house where I was. He stayed the night at the friend's house. And my friend confided in me later that when she had gone into the room after he left that he slept in, that the window was wide open and the screen had been removed from the window. and there had been furniture pursed up to the window as if he was going to jump out. I didn't believe her. Well, I believed he'd done those things, but I didn't believe that the goal was to jump out. It wasn't high enough. He probably just would have broken his legs or whatever he landed on. Anyway, so then my husband traveled a lot for work. He was a very hard worker. He was very talented at his job. And this is Pika, by the way. He's my baby. I don't know how I'd get along without him. So then, we kept agreeing to try and work it out. He knew I'd had an affair. He said he would forgive me. He honestly had no concept of how to forgive a person, because every chance he got, he would throw it in my face. And I'm like, okay, so this is my life now, unless I choose different, which I did. So he had gone on a business trip. He was away. And I had called the police. Actually, my girlfriend, a girlfriend of mine, had come to visit, and I told her everything that had happened. And she was like, hell no. We're going to the police right now. I talked to them. The plan was put into place to arrest him when he got back from his latest business trip. That was October 25th. The boys and I were at my sister's house. And he was arrested on the driveway when he got home from the airport at 9 p.m. on October 25th. There was a restraining order. He was charged with 3 counts of historical assault. He was made to go to anger management and still maintained that he didn't have a problem. That it was the apologies I got were, I'm sorry you think I hurt you. Clearly, it was obvious to me and that he wasn't going to change. He wasn't going to accept any of the ownership for the things that he'd done wrong. And I couldn't force him to. And the help that he needed was well beyond the scope of what I could provide. I'm a friggin' housewife. I did work, but whatever. It was beyond my scope. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a social worker. I was his wife. It's not my place to fix him. So then we went through all the divorce shit. Nothing was final yet. He had to stay with his brother in Waterloo, which was half an hour drive, 45-minute drive away from where we lived, which he did. He followed all the rules of the restraining order except for the emails. He was constantly emailing me, even though the restraining order said that emails were only to happen between us if it was about the children. So he'd always start every email with the boys and I. And then he'd go off on his tirade about how, he needs our family back. He misses our family. And he forgives me for the affair. But no mention of anything that he did wrong. No mention of the fact that, he bruised me, he hit me, he threw me into a wall, or any of that. So then time went on. 2014 rolled around. We were in our own house, the boys and I. He was finally had his own house back in the town where we live. I wanted everything to stay 50-50, financially and with the children. He was a great father. He was a good father. The boys did, I found out after, the boys did see some things wrong that, they felt the need to walk on eggshells and not push his buttons and keep him calm, and the same way I lived my entire marriage. So finally, he wrote me an email, and it happened to be the weekend of his birthday, October 18th, 2014. I should back up a little. Prior to that, my brother lost his eldest daughter. She was 26 years old in a car crash. She was making a left-hand turn at a light and a transport T-boned her. That was the end of that. So that was April 15th, 2014. Dealing with all of that, trying to help my brother. I'm the youngest of the 4 of us, and his perception of me was not one of, oh, hey, she can help. So, we tried to support them. We tried to be there the best we could. Anyway, so then my life continued. Sale of the house. The boys and I moved into our own little condo. Chris moved back into town. He had them one week, I'd have them the next. We were both very close to their school. So the weekend of his birthday, my youngest boy's birthday is October 17th. Chris's birthday was October 18th. So he had the boys that weekend, even though it wasn't his turn to have them because it was his birthday. And Ryan requested to be with his dad for his own birthday as well as his dad's birthday. Anyway, so Chris had them, and he had a sleepover for Ryan and his friends on the Friday night, which was Ryan's actual birthday. So Chris's birthday was the Saturday, and he had written me an email saying, I'm going to change, I'm going to get better, I'm going to fix myself, I'm gonna. And I was encouraging about that. I replied. I said, this is the first time I've replied because he's in breach of the restraining order. So I replied and I said, I hate that you're making me do this to you on your birthday. You are in breach of the contract. You are in breach of our court order. I support that you want to get better. Please get better. Yes, get the help you want. Get the help you need from whoever you need it. And be a good father to your children. Do it for them because I am not coming back. By Monday morning, he had committed suicide. I know I've had hundreds of people tell me it's not my fault, and they're right, I know that. But the guilt still creeps in. And I know anyone who knew him, his family, his friends, his co-workers, all probably asked themselves, how could I have helped him? How could I have been there better? I'm sure everyone feels guilty to an extent. My boys were the ones who found him. I always, when people ask how he died, when they blatantly come out and ask me how he died, I say he died of irony. Because he used his antidepressants to take his life. An entire bottle of amitriptyline and alcohol. And that was all she wrote. While dealing with all of this, I, of course, had a full-time job. And obviously, these kinds of events affect a person, incapacitate them in a way that no one can visibly see. It's all emotional. In my case, it translated into physical pain as well, because I have osteoarthritis in my spine. Anyway, the place I was working full-time for 3 years, after all of this had happened, they fired me. I get I wasn't a good employee. Nobody would be after what I'd been through. And in hindsight, I probably should have sued them, but I never did. I'm more of a kind of person who I want it to be behind me. I need to move forward. So that's what I did. I moved forward. I applied for CPP disability because every time I tried to get myself a new job, I would have a nervous response. I also have IBS, so that would flare up every time I had an interview. It's impossible to get a job when you're in an interview and have to keep leaving to use the washroom. So, what were my options? I live in Canada. I paid CPP all my life while I worked, which were quite a few years. So I collect CPP disability. This little angel. He knows when I'm not feeling good. Anyway, so the point of this video is, please, if you are in an abusive situation, no matter who it is, parent, child, friend, lover, husband, spouse, significant other, partner, whoever it is, as long as they feel like they have the control and the upper hand, they will never stop treating you the way they're treating you. You have to do something about it. You have to exit. That's the only solution. I wish I could tell you something different. No matter what the consequences, I feel like the reason he decided to commit suicide was one last punishment to me. And I know that's kind of arrogant and putting it more personal than it probably is. He was sick. He was ill. He refused help. I don't know what else I could have done. Maybe there's more I could have done. Probably there's more I could have done. I don't know. It was beyond my scope of knowledge. And in view of the fact of how our marriage ended, that he was removed from our home, I still kept things when our divorce came around, which never was finalized, so technically I'm a widow. I still made sure everything was 50-50. I still made sure he saw his children, even though I know he was drunk driving with them in the car. And I did say that in the email as well, that, if anything ever happens to them. I had no idea how unstable he was. Nobody did. Not his family, no one. But now that all of it is over, it's past, there's still pain, but I can deal with it. The boys are resilient. They're so strong. I'm not saying it's a blessing that any of this happened. It's not. It's the farthest thing from a blessing. But I can find things in it to be grateful for. I love my children. Ultimately, yes, they went through the most harm, but they've also come out the other side. And it hasn't been an easy journey for either of them or me. But they're out the other side, and they're going to be wonderfully successful people. I think I'll stop it here. If you want to hear more, let me know, or learn about my art. I'm an artist. That's one of my Zentangle drawings. That's my Indian bride. I have lots and lots more. I have lots of Zentangles and mandalas and Prismacolor drawings and sculptures. This is one of my sculptures. It's alabaster. If you want to know more about anything, about me, my family, my beautiful little puppy dog, Pika, or my art, comment below.